Every 29 and a half days, when the moon is in the sign of the zodiac that the sun was in at the birth of the native, there is a seed, a psychophysical germ, born in the or out of the solar plexus, also known as the manger. And this seed is taken up by the nerves or branches of the pneumogastric nerve and becomes the fruit of the tree of life, or the tree of good and evil. Everything that we think of as religious today under the Vaticanized Roman Empire is a subversion of the truth, not the truth. So it's all trapped in the words. You have to understand the etymology of these words, what they mean. So Christos in Greek is oil, sacred oil. These adepts knew that the secretion, the gray matter, the gray creative, which issues or secretes from the cerebrum, was the source and cause of the physical expression called man. And they knew that the river of Jordan was symbolized in the spinal cord, and that the Dead Sea was used to symbolize the sacred plexus at the base of the spinal column, where the Jordan, the spinal cord, ends, typifying the entrance of Jordan into the Dead Sea. The thick, oily, and salty substance composed the sacral plexus, the quadra equina, which means the horse's tail in Latin. What very few people know is that the Bible itself, the bibliography, is two things. It's a genealogy, a family lineage. So-and-so begat so-and-so begat so-and-so, and so on. But the book itself and all the characters in it actually refer to the temple of God, which is the human body itself. I know people find this hard to believe, but there are all these clues. Like, for example, the mountain known as Golgotha in the biblical story. Well, Golgotha literally means the place of the skull. So most people think it's a real mountain sitting somewhere in the Levant, but it was never meant to be a real mountain. That's what Rome did. They rewrote the history. Golgotha is actually your skull, every human being's skull, because that's this place where the crucifixion takes place. It's all inside of us. When the oil or ointment is crucified, crucify means to increase in power 1,000-fold, not to kill. It remains 2 days and a half, the moon's period in the sign of the tomb, cerebellum. On the third day, ascends to the pineal gland that connects to the cerebellum. Connects to the cerebellum with the optic thalamus, the central eye in the throne of God, is the chamber overtopped by hollow or hallowed, caused by the curve of the cerebrum, the most high of the body, which is the temple of the living God, the living, vital substance, which is precipitation of the breath of life, breathed into man, therefore the holy or whole ghost of breath. So what's being explained here, it's a little cryptic, the language, but what's being explained here is the sacred secret or secretion. That's what that word means, secret, secretion, that comes from the pituitary and the pineal gland. That chemistry comes out of the brain, goes down the spinal column all the way to the sex organs in order to make new life. It's charged with electric soul power. But that force also, if not used to make life and not expelled or wasted, it changes its chemistry once it mixes together. That's the chemical wedding that the alchemists talk about. Once that new substance happens, it becomes less dense and it floats back up the spinal column in the cerebral spinal fluid, like mercury does in a thermometer. And it rests in the nave, in the gland known as the solar plexus. And it charges itself there based on the way you live. And the way you treat your body, the way you eat and drink and sleep and exercise. And it rests there for 2.5 days. Now that 2.5 days is significant because it's the the time each month that the moon is in the sign in which you were born under, your sun sign. So whatever month you're born under, January, February, March, that's the month, that's your sun sign. And the moon goes every 30 days, actually every 28 days, or sometimes 29, just like the female cycle. It goes through each stage in the sky of the sun sign. So every month, every person has 2.5 days where the moon is in their sun sign. And that particular moment, that type of light, is a cycle that started at your birth. And your body knows when that is. You might not know, but your subconscious body knows. And it takes an electrical charge from a combination of the sun and the moon's electromagnetic energy and charges this up while it's in your solar plexus. That's why it's called your solar plexus. Ever wonder that? Interesting how every doctor around the world, no matter what culture you come from, points to this weird spot where your rib cage comes together in the center of your body, and they say, oh yeah, that's the solar plexus. But no one ever asks why it's called that. The pineal gland is the pinnacle of the temple, the modus operandi in which the oil of the spinal cord reaches the pineal gland and is described in what follows. There is no name under heaven whereby ye may be saved except Jesus Christed, or christened, and then crucified. The correct rendering of the text in Greek. Every 29.5 days, when the moon is in the sign of the zodiac that the sun was in at the birth of the native, there is a seed, a psychophysical germ, born in the or out of the solar plexus, also known as the manger. And this seed is taken up by the nerves or branches of the pneumogastric nerve and becomes the fruit of the tree of life, or the tree of good and evil. Good, if saved and cast upon the waters, circulation to reach the pineal gland. And it's known as evil, if eaten or consumed in sexual expression on the physical plane, or by alcoholic drinks or gluttony that causes fermentation or acid and even alcohol in the intestinal tract. Thus, in quotes, no drunkard can inherit the kingdom of heaven. Or acids and alcohol cut or chemically split the oil that unites with the mineral salts in the body and thus produces the monthly seed. So that's what he's saying, is that this oil is, it's special because it's electrically charged. And it also is special because it has the ability to make new life, and your body created it. But it's also very, it's fragile based on the way you treat your body. So the idea is to take care of it and to know that it's traveling up and down your spine and transmutate your sex energy accordingly. Now, he's not talking about celibacy. He's talking about knowing the body and using that energy at the right time for the right things. The seed, having the odor of fish, was called Jesus, or iktos, which is Greek for fish, and nun, N-U-N, Hebrew for of life. I am the bread that came down from heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. The fruit of the tree of life, therefore, is the fish bread, of which thou shalt not eat on the plain or animal, Adam, earth dust of the earth plane. Adam, the word Adam often in Hebrew text means red earth or earth dust. But to him that overcometh will I give to eat the fruit of the tree of life, because he saved it, and it returned to him in the cerebellum and the home of the spiritual man, the ego. The cerebellum is the heart-shaped, and it is called the heart in Greek, thus, in quotes, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So, another little thing, another side, the tree of knowledge, or the tree of life, whatever you want to call it, is not a physical place. It's never been a physical place. That was the invention of Rome, to pull people away from the real place of salvation, which is your own body, the human form. And the tree of life is your cerebrospinal. Your brain is the root ball, and all your nerves branch out, going down your body like a tree. We are like a walking inverted tree. That is the original tree of life. The body organ that men in their ignorance call heart is termed divider or pump in Greek and Hebrew. Our blood divider is not the button that we touch when we think, but it is the upper lobe of the cerebellum that vibrates thought. The lower lobe is the animal or mortal lobe that governs the animal world, the section of the body below the solar plexus, called Lower Egypt, natural body, kingdom of earth, Apollyon, the devil, lived spelled backwards, Satan. Saturn governs the bowels. Okay, I know there's a lot there, but again, you have to know the etymology. The word devil, D-E-V-I-L, is just lived spelled backwards. So that was also a subversion that happened when the clergy knew how to write and nobody else did. They subverted the word lived, reversed it, and made the devil. Now, what they're really talking about was what we all used to know is the animal parts of our body, the part that we abuse or we don't hold sacred, meaning our sex organs. And that's also, I know this is a touchy subject, but that's also why the word Sodom refers to your lower excretory organs. And that's what Sodom and Gomorrah was all about. It was never a real place. Sodom and Gomorrah is not a city or a place on earth. It's a place in your bowels, the bowels of hell, so to speak. Jacob's ladder was not a real event that some man named Jacob witnessed. Jacob's ladder was a story, an allegory that talked about the spine, the ladder that angels went up and down are the 33 vertebrae of the spine. And angels are angles of light. They're also called messengers in Hebrew, the Elohim. But really those messengers, what they really refer to is the newborn child, the innocence of new humanity. The point is that Jacob's ladder it's not a story of a man named Jacob. Just think for a moment upon the colossal ignorance of these priests who did not know that Jacob in Hebrew means heel catcher or circle, the ladder that referred to the influence of the signs of the zodiac upon the earth. And as one sign rising every 2 hours forms a circle every 24 hours, the 24 elders of Revelation, the outer stars of the rising suns, S-U-N, rising suns, and sons, S-O-N-S. Catching on, he asks, to the last sons of the sign ascending. So, okay, he's saying that the word Jacob means heel catcher, and it does in reference to the sky or the zodiac. It's still, he's not saying Jacob's ladder. He's saying the name Jacob. So there's two meanings. There is the ladder, which, like I said before, is the human spine in which the prodigal son of the sacred oil or Christos travels up and down to offer healing and enlightenment to the human form. And then there's also the heel catcher, the name Jacob. And in very ancient zodiacs, you'll see a man drawn in the center of them, where his back is arched and his heels circle around and touch the back of his head to create a circle. And that's what the word Jacob means. That's the name. It's the man in the sky, which refers to the zodiac, which is a reflection of the time cycle of the human body. But now we come to the Antichrist. The Council of Nicaea, dominated by Constantine, voted that these symbols of the human body were persons, that Jesus was a certain historical man, a contention utterly and indubitably without foundation in fact, and that all who believed the story would be saved and forgiven here and now. The idea appealed to the Constantine as an easy way out of his troubled mind, and so the scheme of salvation by the actual blood of a real man or God was engrafted in the world. Constantine and his dupes saw that the only way to perpetuate the infamy was to keep the world in ignorance of the operation of the cosmic law. So they changed, quote unquote, times and seasons. So that's what I'm saying. The invention of the Julian calendar, the Gregorian calendar, there's other Roman calendars. They slowly changed the beginning of the year. They slowly changed some of the names of the months. They slowly changed the amount of days in a month. That's why we have leap years now. Again, it's trapped in the words. If you look at the words, the etymology, for example, the word March is not the third month of the year because the spring equinox happens March 20th every year. And March in Latin literally means primo. Primo means first. So March is telling you it's the first month of the year. And you can go all the way around the year and go down to, look at December. Most people think December is the last month of the year, the 12th month. But in Latin, the word dece or deca, December, deca, means 10. So a decade rounds out a 10-year period. So December or deca means 10. Decimal is 1 through 9 with a 0. That point starts things over. So December is not the 12th month of the year. It's the 10th month of the year. And, oct for October, oct means 8, like an octagon. But October in the current calendar is the 10th month of the year. But the word itself will tell you October is not the 10th month of the year. It's the 8th month of the year. So like I said, it's right in there. It's right in the words. And when you really look into etymology, you start to see it. Also the esoteric structure of the alphabets itself, the symbols that make up the words, it gets even more complex and deeper. But as you can see, the Council of Nicaea changed things, and they've kept us in the dark ever since. And it was because they controlled all the writing. There were very few people that were literate, except the clergy. So they had a lot of power to rewrite history, to change the meanings of words, and also to change time cycles. The date that they made the sun enter Aries was March 21st. Why? March 21st should be the first day of Aries, the head. Aries means to arise. April 19th should be the first day of Taurus, the neck. And when they're talking about the head and the neck, they're talking about that man, Jacob, the heel catcher, the body in the sky. So each month correlates to a part of the human body. So Aries is the head, Taurus is the neck, and so on and so forth. Goes all the way down the body each month, on through the 12 signs. But these deciding schemers knew that by thus suppressing the truth, the people might come to realize what was meant by, and in quotes, the heavens declare the glory of God. Again, the moon in its monthly moon, mon, Monday, all come from the same word. So every moon is a month. The moon in its monthly round of 29 and a half days enters the outer stars of a constellation 2.5 days before it enters the central suns of the constellations that are known as the signs of the zodiac or the circle of beasts. But even unto this day, the whole Antichrist world, so-called Christian, except the astrologers, go by almanacs that make the moon enter a sign of the zodiac 2.5 days before it does enter it, and thus perpetuate the lie of the pagan Constantine, the Antichrist. The ancients all knew this, and our rituals were in accordance with the sacredness of the human body, both male and female.